Welcome to Company Showcase, an advertising feature on HowStreet.com.
I'm Jim Goddard. I'm speaking with Larry Reaugh, CEO and President of American Manganese. Welcome back to the show, Larry.
Thanks, Jim.
Larry, you had a news release this week. What was in it?
Well, it was a quote by Secretary Boulay from the DOE that, and they mentioned American Manganese in there as the potential recycler of their material. And we thought that was great. We've come to the government's attention in a lot of cases. We've came to some senators and some congressmen that are following what we're doing. So we're getting the word out there, Jim, and it's nice to be mentioned in that article, which tells you that our transparency policy is working out because we've been very transparent. Everybody knows exactly what we get, exactly what we do, and nobody else does that. And if they don't do that, I'm not understanding why, but I can guess. But the point is that, we're getting attention in the right circles. We'd like to get more into the financial area, more attention in that area, although we've had lots of solicitations, but they, doesn't fit our pistol. And, but we're moving on, and it's an excellent time for American Manganese. I mean, this virus has certainly destroyed a lot of companies and a lot of people, and but it's done good things for us. It's pointed up weaknesses, specifically in governments, that have to be covered off. And I say the short term, which could be the next 2 or 3 years, because now they see their vulnerability, and so that's good for us moving ahead. Now, when I look at the recycling arena, there's very few companies out there that trade on the exchange that are really into the type of recycling that we're doing. So we're really breaking a trail, and breaking a trail is not easy. It's tedious, steady work. For example, my podcasts, and every week I have to go through literally hundreds of emails that I get looking for nuggets, and so I can't do that because when I'm at work, there's things that have to be done, and so it usually ends up in the evenings and the weekends that I dig out those nuggets, and so just to keep myself current, and not just totally focused on the podcasts. I want to know what's happening in our industry. I want to know what's happening in the battery manufacturing, the EV manufacturing. I want to know what's happening with policies around the world. And so it's something that has to be done. And you have to be current because this is a new industry. You're not reading a lot about recycling except the mention at the bottom of an article somewhere, but that is going to change. I mean, you can't keep building mega factories, and Benchmark has come up with some numbers that basically has some of those statistics. Now, for example, China has 107 gigafactories in production. Half are in production, half are being built. The U.S. has 9, Europe has 6, and the other 11% is around the world. So what's that tell you? Well, China dominates the entire battery manufacturing scene when it comes to EV cars and lithium-ion batteries. So that's not unusual. This has been their policy ever since I've been dealing with critical metals, starting with manganese. They basically cornered the market on electrolytic manganese metal. They had hundreds of factories across China till they drove the price into the ground, and now some of those factories are naturally shut. and but there are some that are getting back up to production quotas, but they're taking a lot less money. So we got to be careful about Chinese dominance. It's not only makes them a dominant player and the key player, and there's no swing players out there. So we're hoping that this EV car battery manufacturing doesn't dilute the market to the extent that that some of the European and American factories have to stop production or basically go into bankruptcy because prices will drop. Now, I think that's short term. Prices will drop, but it's a short-term thing. Our recycling gets back close to 100% of these valuable materials, and we've got enough batteries in the stream right now. There's, I think, like 3 million EV cars out there that have been built in the last few years, and some of them are reaching the end of life today, and they'll be reaching the end of life each year as we go forward. And that's certainly our market, the one we're looking at, and we want to keep our costs down, although we're finding that, you have to take in partnerships and everything else where you have to split the pie up, and but we still want to end up with a robust amount for the efforts that we put in. So the other thing that's happening out there is Japan is now talking about stockpiling 31 critical metals, and they're going to not disclose how much they've stockpiled, and I don't blame them for that because, that also shows their vulnerability. So, but they are going to start stockpiling, which will help the price of the critical metals going forward. And the U.S. used to have large stockpiles. I think they had a couple of million tons of manganese at one point. They're down to about less than 400,000 tons now of very low-grade manganese and stockpiles. So, that's something that you'll see governments starting to do because, if you don't have it in the country, or if you don't have a mine which takes years to develop and to permit and finally put into production, then you're going to need an immediate supply. So stockpiling is the answer. So I think you're going to see more governments start to stockpile these critical metals, and that's going to help the price because it's going to take material off the market that's needed today to build these batteries. So everything is looking very positive for the company. And, we're certainly starting to see a little action in our stock. Last I looked, it was around 20 cents. And so we've moved up from the 14, 15, 16 cent range and gained back, from the bottom of our market, we've gained back the price that we had at the beginning of the market. And when I'm talking about the market, I'm talking about the market that was affected by the coronavirus. So, all in all, Jim, I think we've got a very good format going forward, and the company is, very optimistic about what's happening. Everybody in here is certainly thrilled about the results that we're getting. And we're just waiting for the pilot plant to start up again. And, hopefully we'll be looking at somewhere between 300 to 600 ton a day plant rather than the 3 to 6 ton a day plant rather than just a 3 ton a day plant. Because our optimization is showing us that for a little bit more money, we can perhaps double the production, and that will increase the payback, and and reduce the operating costs. So that's a good thing, Jim. So it is a long weekend. The U.S. is closed today, and yesterday we had a good day in the U.S. Over 1 million shares. We had 1.75 million in the Canadian market under the TSX Venture Exchange. So that was a good day yesterday. Today we're down. I think it was around 250,000 the last I looked, and 19.5 to 20. So we're holding our own, and it's stellar times. I think people are going to start to see some changes, and hopefully the interest by investors for recycling is starting to pick up.
Larry, where are you traded, and how can people get more information about American Manganese?
We're traded on the Toronto Venture Exchange under the symbol AMY. We're traded in the U.S. under the symbol AMYZF. We're traded in the Frankfurt market under the symbol 2AM. If you really want to do due diligence on the company, go to our site, AmericanManganeseInc.com. You can always phone the company at 778-574-4444, or just send me an email at LREAUGH@AMYMN.com.
Larry, thank you so much for the update.
Thanks, Jim.
I've been speaking with Larry Reaugh, CEO and President of American Manganese. I'm Jim Goddard. Our conversation took place on July 3rd.
Comments made on Company Showcase are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any manner whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Archived online at HowStreet.com. Company Showcase is a production of How Street Media Incorporated.